I'm gonna ask you now, who are, for you,
Uh-oh.
the five most important Archie artists like ever?
Ooh.
Most
Huh.
impactful, most influential.
Okay. Should I start? I have to start at my number one. I'm gonna have to. I can't do a countdown backwards because my brain doesn't work that way. So Dan DeCarlo is my number one.
Is
I'm
there
a huge fan.
is that even objectively arguable?
People do argue between Dan DeCarlo and Harry Lucy. You will find arguments. Mark Waid, very respected comic book writer and
Mm.
historian, will choose Harry Lucy over Dan DeCarlo.
I mean, I like Harry Lucy better, but I don't think it's arguable that Dan DeCarlo has more of an impact because the model that followed the two of them was not Harry Lucy, it was Dan DeCarlo's.
Yes, it
Right?
was. He was more influential, I would say. So I'm sorry, what's the question? Is it influential? Is that the
Most
question?
most
Or is it
important.
favorite? Most important. Okay. Because I look at the phrasing of the question too.
Yeah.
Most important, you got to give it to Dan DeCarlo then, because he established the entire style of those comics for, gosh, what, 40 years?
Until
Something
like
like
now,
that.
until recently.
Really, yeah. I mean, well, they're doing the new look stuff now. They're doing
Yeah.
like a little bit more experimentation in it, I
Yeah.
guess. They're still doing classics, so yeah. So yeah, I'd say Dan DeCarlo. And if we're saying most important, then I got to put Montana next because he kind of started the ball rolling on the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I got to give him props over Harry Lucy. Then I would put Harry Lucy third because I think he just has this more illustrative style that's like a lot of people also respect and draw inspiration from that when they're drawing Archie.
Yeah.
So I got to give him his due. So that's three. Um,
Two more.
I would then say probably Sam Schwartz because his Jughead is almost
The
a
Jughead.
definitive Jughead. Yeah, like Dan DeCarlo is the whole cast. He draws them great, but Sam Schwartz's Jughead, there's something very special about that. And I think Sam Schwartz also kind of gave it a very traditional cartoony look, almost like we're saying like Looney Tunes style,
Uh-huh.
like the reactions and the body language of the characters when they're reacting to things is kind of special.
I
So I
agree.
give him the number 4 slot.
He did a
Now
lot
number
of that stuff that you talk about too, where if something's going on like nothing was really going on in the foreground, he'd do a background joke, like
yeah.
just a kid like chasing a kite or something. And
Yeah, totally, totally. I feel like Dan DeCarlo might have been the master of that as well. Because a lot of times you'd get, when one of the pretty girls is walking by, you'd get some guy in the background and like his toupee would be flipping over his head or something. Or there'd be like a little dog looking at somebody doing something wacky with like the screwball thought balloon. Like a lot of times there'd be little dogs reacting to things. So he did a lot of that.
sometimes it's not even in the background too. Like sometimes it'll be like Archie is in the background arguing with Mr. Lodge, and like right in the front is just Veronica sprawled out in a bikini
Oh,
for
yes, yes.
for
Well,
like
yeah,
no
sure.
reason.
Well, it's funny. Dan DeCarlo always did. I always call them the random foregrounds girls.
Yeah.
There'd always be some girls walking by that
Mm-hmm.
had nothing to do. It was just back. It was like just sort of extra whatever flavor. But it'd always be like a very pretty girl wearing some like mod outfit or something. She looks like a model. Like all these like
Yeah.
models walking by. He did a lot of that. So yeah.
That's
So
Riverdale. That's Riverdale for you.
that's totally Riverdale. So Sam Schwartz would be number 4. And then if we're talking important, I guess I would say Dan Parent would be number 5 because he's kind of really been,
Mm-hmm.
I want to say, the modern torchbearer of Archie the last, 20 plus years. And I think he adds sort of like a modern, almost like fashionable element to it. His page layouts break the mold a little bit with Archie. The characters come out of the panel. There's full bleed pages, which is different for Archie. Archie used to be very, for practical printing reasons, everything was contained in that sort of live area.
Yeah.
But I feel he makes the most use of breaking the mold of that and having the characters bleed off and doing some things with the page layouts where the characters will overlap but still tell the story in a more modern comic booky kind of way.
Also, not to underplay it or anything, but he created Kevin Keller, and
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Yep.
That's like a huge step up.
Yeah. Well, it's
Um,
funny, you know, if you look at Archie, there's all this, and they've created new characters every few years. They try to push some new characters in for just, you know, color, background, diversity, different characters to play off to other characters, and some stick and some don't, you know. And it's
yeah,
funny for all the characters they introduced, the only ones that I think truly stuck of the last 40 years, Cheryl Blossom, Jason Blossom, and Kevin Keller.
not Chuck Clayton.
Chuck is 70s, so
Oh,
Chuck
Chuck,
is
Chuck is the 70s.
before
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
that's it.
um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Sometimes they have these other ones like Ginger and Maria.
that's what I mean. Yeah, so you have Ginger Lopez, you have Maria, you have. They tried to give Betty a boyfriend that was more appreciative of her, named Adam.
Uh-huh.
But like, you know, I haven't seen him in a while. Veronica has like a cousin. Like they have all these other characters, the new Riverdale kind of characters. They did a whole influx of them. Um, there was a storyline I think where they introduced a bunch of new kids. Oh,
Yeah,
Tony Topaz, I
Tony
guess
Topaz.
because of Riverdale, that elevated her.
Yeah, that's
But I
because of
think if she
Riverdale,
didn't appear
though.
on Riverdale, she wasn't much of a character before Riverdale.
Yeah, that's because of Riverdale, though.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Um,
That's interesting. Because I did that list in 2013, and I had almost the exact same list as you, except I had Dan Parent at number 6.
okay, so who'd you have as 5? You
Stan Goldberg, because it was 2013. He had just drawn The Wedding.
Yes, yes.
And even then I said, and then Dan Parent had just created Kevin Keller. And I said, like, I have a feeling that in a few years, I'm going to switch these two. And,
Yeah.
and I think I have now, like in my mind, I think I have. So we have pretty much the exact same list. So
Okay. Well, it's funny. I feel almost bad for Stan Goldberg because I feel like he's been so prolific. But when you're ranking things, I mean, you got to put DiCarlo before Stan Goldberg, you know, so he kind of loses out almost by like a weird default.